Live on YouTube, it is the Chromaniacs post-match show, courtesy of SanDiego.Futbol, as SDFC dramatically rallies to win and then draw by allowing a goal in like the last second, like literally the last second, scoring with 10 seconds left and allowing another goal within 10 seconds. 3-3 is our final score tonight. It's crazy, it's enervating, it's exasperating, it's exhilarating. It's Major League Soccer. Let's talk about it together live on YouTube. I'm Craig Elston, joined by Tony Sanchez live at Snapdragon Stadium. Alex Pena up in Seattle, but joining us nonetheless mid-vacation, checking in for some duty. Tony, we'll start with you. You're the only one of us where they normally are, live out there on the terrace at Snapdragon Stadium. Your thoughts and just first encapsulation of the feeling downstairs after, hey, for the fans, an incredible, incredible match. For SDFC fans, wow.
I mean, let me tell you, I think it's one of these things where everybody's kind of looking to the left, to the right, and just wondering, how have we landed in the same place yet again? But this time, having done so much more right, and knowing that, you know, on the back end, you're still going to concede goals. It's still a young team, but the way these things are happening, like, not that just that they're running out of excuses. They're just running out of just, I don't even know. Like, it's a stranger than fiction in a lot of different ways, because everything seems to be coming up, but they're not finishing. But the finishing aspect is slowly getting better, right? You start having a game with 80 minutes, then 85 minutes, 90 minutes. Now you just need 10 seconds, or as I counted, 13 seconds more to close out a game. Well, we'll talk about that, but it does feel like another loss in a tie, in a positive yardage moment, a positive points moment. Still, you have that feeling of, oh, yeah.
Oh my God. It happened again, you know, dropping points late in the final seconds when they had it, and it's getting exhausting just because you thought you had a win and everything was good, and I don't know, like the referee just allows more time out of nowhere that Cincinnati was able to send a Hail Mary pass out to the penalty area, and they got it in, and it's just a matter of inches now. In seconds that this team is just almost there of completing a full game, like Tony said, and just heartbreaking, just all around. Watching this again, it keeps happening.
What's the exact number? Because I thought on the last show, Alex, it was 9 points conceded or dropped after the 75th minute. So I guess we just kicked that up to 11 points now, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it also takes into account the points gained in the last, few minutes in stoppage time. So they gained a couple points, but then they lost them. So maybe it's a wash. I don't know how the the soccer stats or record keeping keeps track of this stuff. So maybe we're up to 11 or 12 points now. But yeah, it keeps going up. It just keeps going up that San Diego is just losing points late in these matches, and it's got to be a trend that has to stop eventually, because it's you're losing like 3-4 games now. That's a huge total that could really push you up to a top 3 team in the conference, I believe. So it's got to stop.
But it didn't. But this match didn't feel like many of the other matches that we saw during the skid, in my opinion. What I saw tonight was a match that kind of played to form, in that FC Cincinnati is a team that scores a lot of goals and concedes a lot of goals. I came into this one kind of thinking about 2-2 or 3-2 as being, possible scores for this match. And boy, when Ingvartsen puts in that absolute golazo with seconds to play and it's 3-2 San Diego, I'm feeling pretty genius about that. But I thought SDFC did a lot of things well in this game, understanding that conceding 3 goals is never going to be good enough. And there's plenty to look at on each of those goals. Still and all, I thought the team generally held their shape okay. I thought the way they battled back from being down a goal twice in the match and did so in reasonably quick form was quite impressive. Pellegrino played his best match in well over a month. The young mids each made great contributions. Soma had a great pass. Saidi comes in stoppage time. He has an incredible pass to send Ingvartsen in. So there were a lot of really, really good things that happened in this match. And Tony, it's funny, the one thing that didn't happen in this match was for El Pelotero to deliver. In fact, he missed a sitter in the first half. Anders Dreyer got another shot saved. It was a pretty damn good performance by both goalkeepers, I thought, in terms of shot stopping. Maybe not in terms of positioning at the very end, but your thoughts in terms of just the match flow of this one and getting it all done without Dreyer coming through in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, you can definitely tell that there were aspects of San Diego FC was finding success on the offensive side. Looking at the left side where Sargent was having that space, and David also having some space and crossing it into the middle, not into the center back line, but in between the defensive line and the midfield line. And that was enough to create that chaos. That's exactly where they found that space. That's also where they found the goal, and where Anders Dreyer did have a goal opportunity that, to be completely honest, and I think we've mentioned it, I think I've mentioned it, this is a Dreyer chance that he scores last year. Like we've seen him be lethal. We've seen him have much less space, much less comfort, and have some amazing shots that get stopped. But I think there is just this extra second that he's taking and thinking and overthinking a little bit too much of the positioning and the colocación, where he wants to go ahead and place that shot placement just a little too much. You have a lot of space. You've known that, with MLS keepers, there is a chance that any shot is going to get spilled, especially at point blank range. So just get it on target. And I think those are the things that once you start looking and start building throughout the match, you start to essentially not have the chances that you are supposed to take. And I think last game we saw a team in San Diego FC where they took every single chance that they were supposed to score and they converted, and they looked good at it. They brought that over here. But I mean, I want to be a little bit critical and push on that Anders Dreyer situation too, because he's very important to this team. He's where he needs to be. He's moving off the ball. He's a master of offense, but I think there is just a little bit more that we should be asking of Anders Dreyer in those moments. Assists are great, but we know you can score. We know you can go ahead and score. So they need to start, just having those moments, especially Honors. And what a day would have been on his bobblehead night. But it's a game that should have been not liquidated, but should have been cemented a little bit more in the first half for San Diego MC.
Is this like? Granted, I think when we first talked about this, asking how many points remaining, in the last 4 matches, I think, Tony, you did say 4 points. Now they're up to 5. So we weren't expecting a win on this one, and we got a draw. And they actually and they played very well. But Dreyer, he doesn't seem like his shooting ability is there right now. And I love the assists. I love what all the offensive actions that he does create, but you also need him to be a shooter and score goals. And that's also like someone else has to pick up the slack on that one. And right now it's just Marcus and Bartson kind of doing it all. And another brace for him, and it's incredible because he's also it's starting to be one goal contribution per match now, and he's reliable. I mean, you could easily depend on Bartson and to get a goal. Now it's like we need Dreyer to start stepping up a little bit too.
Well, you mentioned Marcus Ingvartsen, and up to second in MLS Golden Boot race now with another brace. Both of his goals, I thought, were exquisitely struck. You know, the first one, he's running at an angle to intercept the ball, shooting first time and having enough pace to put it between the keeper and his near post when the keeper was on that post. Then the second goal, my goodness, to be able to flare that into side netting with so much pace from where he was at an extreme angle. He was at an angle where the keeper had a really good look at that shot, and anything less than an absolutely perfect shot, and that ball is going to be saved or deflected away. And the match is going to stay 2-2. And quite frankly, it will probably finish 2-2. If Ingvartsen's shot is saved away, probably the whistle blows before too much of anything else happens in this match. The pass from Saidi, incredible as well, and so instinctual. But the finish is world class. It's absolutely world class. And Marcus Ingvartsen right now is the 9 that this team was waiting for. And you know, all last year they were like, where's the 9? We lost Olowski. We lost too much. Well, they always said Ingvartsen could be this player. 100% Marcus Ingvartsen is this player.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love that we have like a dependable striker that you can just count on to really provide those goal contributions. But you know, the other guy that also stepped up was Pellegrino, and I think just having more consistency like out of the wings would just be much more helpful. But you know, in a game where you score 3 goals, you should be able to win. And it's another you know, for Cincinnati, it's like back-to-back games that you had 3 goals, and one was a loss, and then this time it's a draw. So you should be winning these matches. It just still, I think there's still a little bit more that they have to, like, you know, put together and really have like a 3-headed beast, you know, a attacking threat that can really do some damage here.
The thing about this game is that you saw the positive aspects of everything San Diego FC have been doing this entire season, what they have been building, where they have now the fitness from different players to be able to execute what they want to go ahead and do, right? Like, I think before the season started, you could go back to the podcast where we talked about, hey, are we expecting to really come out of his shell this season? And I pointed to Pedro Soma. And Pedro Soma in the last 2 games is really starting to show his class. That pass that he got by into Pellegrino into space, he identified that run before he even crossed the thought of Pellegrino going before it. Almost like he knew that's supposed to happen, telepathically told Pele, hey, move. I'm going to go ahead and gain this ball back, turn into space, and give himself acreage. And so those are the things that you start to see building from the youngsters. And again, just you can put a mirror to these images, and in one of them is just a dark world sort of mirror where everything's going right. You have Durant Free have an amazing stop on a free kick on a set piece situation that goes over. Incredible. Another one-on-one situation against Evander. Amazing stuff. But then the next play after that shot stop is a cross, and then they're definitely you're smiling, Craig, because you know. Oh, I thought you meant because I was gonna go and say maybe criticize a little bit of Duran a little bit in that moment where you just have to run through, regardless of who it is. If it's your defender, if it's anybody, that ball's in the air in your small box, you have to run through whoever is there. And so I think you know, McVay does get in the way a little bit, kind of clouds his vision a little bit, but you know, it's a moment where you just can't allow that. Bombino on the first goal for Cincinnati is left at midfield. He doesn't track his man and doesn't go all the way back. That's unfortunate for him. third goal, I think we can have. We'll get to the third goal. 'Cause I'll let you guys take it from there. Because seeing it here, I saw the 3-2, and usually around that time, Wave SDFC, I start packing my stuff up because I want to be ready to go into the press area. I sat down. I sat back down. I'm like, what am I doing? They're still game. They're still game, and the last 10 seconds happen.
All right, well, let's rip the Band-Aid off here. How the holy heck does SDFC concede when the game is over? I mean, the game is done. They've played 6 minutes of stoppage. SDFC scores at the end of the 6th minute. The only thing that can be added to the clock would be the time of celebration. I guess 95-48. I guess 47 at the time of goal. So I guess they had 13 seconds left to play in this one. World-class finish by Marcus Ingvartsen. Incredible pass. Incredible, through ball from Saidi. Just a play that should be immortalized for San Diego FC, to be honest with you. That should be one of the greatest plays in franchise history, one of the most memorable plays in franchise history. And maybe we will remember it, but it'll always be remembered. And then do you remember when they conceded in literal seconds? Midfield, look up. Nobody got in the way of that long ball. And, McVay gets on the wrong shoulder of Cincinnati's 99, who got subbed in, big physical forward. When he got subbed in right away, the announcers were like, well, here's a guy who could make an impact, but it's late. And his falling header down winds up, dropping directly to his mate for the goal. It absolutely brutal dink donk donk kind of thing where you're alive and the next thing you know, that's it. It's over.
I have questions because number one, what is Manodua doing? Like, just watching the ball and just losing, and he completely lost track of his man. That just allows for an open shot, and it's always these little things. These are the things, and people like to bring up Manodua leaving and things like that. Like he's gonna go somewhere in the summer, and I just look at things like this, little things like this. Aren't really acceptable for a guy that wants to go to Europe or anywhere. That you lose your man and it costs you a goal and a couple points. I have trouble. I understand he's new to the position and he still has a lot of work to do, but you gotta keep eyes on your man. And he kind of he knows McVay's right there. McVay is right next to him. He's on his man. I think Dua should have been on his man, and which led to a wide open shot.
You can't. And then I'm a proponent of soccer in all its fashions, but I can't stand bad soccer. That's just bad soccer. That's just bad defensive positioning. It's bad just focus. You do something that you don't necessarily do and do. I think you've been doing so many things great. Keep at it. And that's been the whether it's 80 minutes, 85, 90, 91, 92, 95 minutes, whatever it's been, you just have to finish the game. There is no room for San Diego FC this season to be able to go ahead and get the foot off the gas. There's just no room. And the moment that they get that confidence, that moment of oh, okay, finally we did it. That's the moment where they're going to go ahead and attack. And that's the moment where you find yourself in situations where the opposing team knows that. Guess what? The one thing you're worst at doing right now, as everybody's closing up here at Snapdragon, and clearly upset, throwing stuff, duels. And you allowed yourself to be get tied, get drawn, but defeated emotionally on another aerial duel. And Cincinnati was done. They were fouling. They were getting yellow cards. They just wanted no part of this. They were done with everything. And now you go ahead and give your fans a reason to once again have questions and more of the same. And I think that at the end of the day, everybody has to do better, even if it's those 10 seconds. And it's heartbreaking for the squad who worked so hard. It's heartbreaking for the fans who came out and thought that they were going to see a game. But sure, you need to finish those 15 seconds because, yeah, Marcus scored with 13 seconds left in stoppage time, but then the celebrations happen. So you have to go ahead and give some time added on top of that. And then if you really want to count the seconds, the ball's in the air with 10 seconds left, and you can't end the game with the ball in the air with a diagonal chance for any team. And you just have to go ahead and, I don't know, man. I'm at loss for words. When I saw that, I was just like, here we go again. Let's go see Mike. And I mean, the team in general, just the emotional roller coaster of those last seconds has to take a toll. It just has to start taking a toll. And you're going to have to get these young players mentally back in shape and then face a very good Vancouver team next week.
Well, yeah, the psychological fallout from this game. The good news is there's only one game left until the World Cup break. But I do think, it's two more. On one level, it's add two more to the pile of points that you've, given away at the end of matches. But this one's different. You scored with basically no time left. You managed to concede in an amount of time that seems impossible. Like it would be hard to give up a goal as long as you have humans on the field. But really, watching that play, it's a breakdown from every level. Alex Mighton is out drifting. He's celebrating. He thinks the game's over. I don't mean literally, but he's way off the mark of his man who gets to get past midfield, eyes up, stutter step. There's so much. Watch this. We got the pass to the wide pass. Okay, Mighton's kind of just jogging back to it. Stutter step, stutter step. That's almost like a corner kick in terms of the amount of time he had to prepare that delivery. He winds up with a beautiful delivery in. And of course, it falls to 18 for the goal there. But Dua could have been in better position. Faree is kind of two minds. I'm backing up. I'm coming in. Where am I? I'm nowhere. This is just disaster class. But Tony, I think Alex said it right. I mean, if I have to put on one guy, there's a lot of blame to go around, but Dua is ball watching the situation. He's hoping for the ball to fall to him instead of pushing to his man where he might have just intercepted that knockdown header. He might have just taken that right into the corner and the game ends and SDFC wins 3-2. These 2 points just feel more to me like we're going to be at decision day and you're going to really have wanted those 2 points. Like specifically these 2 points feel like the kind of thing that puts you in the play-in game instead of the regular bracket or something along, or keeps you out, or keeps you out altogether. It's a really, really painful way to concede a goal that late. And I really do think most of the players thought the game's over. They're just waiting for the whistle. And the whistle isn't going to come.
Yeah, and you see it here. Like Manu Dua never looks behind his back. He never once checks that McVeigh has somebody covered. There's not 2 players there. There's no need for him to close in on this one player. He needs to go ahead and look to the left-hand side of the box and make sure that he's in front of that. But I think he has the confidence of like, well, last time I checked, this player was actually on an offsides position. So there's no need for me to go ahead and go and mark that person. There's no way this is going to be beat. But it's a great pass with infinite amount of time that just drops exactly in front of Chris McVeigh, and it's one of these things where you also need to make sure that there's no foul. First thing McVeigh does is, nope, I didn't touch him. No foul, no foul, no foul. And you just kind of lose that focus of, hey, let's get the ball out first. Like, and it's one of those things where I would have, if I'm Duran or any goalkeeper in that situation or any player, that's an earned red card because it would have been outside the box where you brought the guy down. Get it. Like that's the most justified red card you would have had this season. But either way, it's just a defensive breakdown that gets in the middle of two players that should have done much better in communication. Somebody should have, been there. You see Marcus and Varson, who actually dropped into almost a Yepe position in that goal. So, that's something that he's doing. And from what you'll hear from the post matches, unilaterally, both Mikey and Varson, Pedro Soma, we're all like, yeah, we usually don't drop back so far back in defense in these situations. For some reason, we did, but it's another situation once again, just like it was in Real Salt Lake, where there's just acreage of space, no pressure in the midfield and no sense of urgency. I think that's the biggest thing. There wasn't a sense of urgency in that moment. Everybody had just tired and exhausted the last energy in the goal celebration. No, come back, focus. You still have game left. It's a mental game at this point.
Oh, it's absolutely brutal. And, Alex, I think that's a great point, though, that Tony's raising. There's no compact nature to SDFC's defense in the final play. It's way more scramble ball, Hail Mary, NFL Red Rover type defense. And that's what my meniscus hurt is asking in the chat as well. Like, what's going on with the center backs being so deep? Creating a circumstance by which that long pass can go over the top without it being an offsides play. It's a really, really frustrating play. And I have a hard time, like, even being too hard on the team, because I think everyone understands what happened here, right? Like, they scored, they thought the game was over. It wasn't. There was just enough time left. And I think there's 11 guys out there that all feel like they're partially responsible for this not being a win. But let me switch off that. We can continue to kvetch about one play forever. I'm curious, and maybe this is a transition toward our post-match sound. I don't know if this was brought up with Coach Varis, Tony. I know the multitudes of the press were there to ask questions, which means you and Mark Ziegler. But they made a formation switch about two-thirds of the way into the second half, or maybe halfway into the second half. They went to a 4-2-4. They started to move things around. They pushed Dreyer back, and then they switched it again when they subbed in Saidi for Pellegrino, and they put Mighton, who had come in and played in the middle, they put Mighton out to the wing. I didn't think it was necessarily that coincidental that they switched out of a weird formation back to something that was a lot more familiar, and then they found that goal late in the game. What did you hear anything, Tony, downstairs in terms of what was the thinking about changing formation?
So I essentially just kind of asked, like, hey, give me the vision of two halves, right? In the first half, they were finding those spaces in between the defensive and midfield lines, and they were finding successes. But then Cincinnati made that adjustment halftime. And once they came back and scored 2-1 Cincinnati, San Diego FC came in and said, hey, we need to overload this attack. So then you saw Alex, that's when you also saw Pellegrino also migrate a little bit more centrally. And that's where he eventually gets that pass, right? Like, he essentially is in the 9 position in order to receive that. But there wasn't a specific question asked, but it's good to kind of point out too, because you're right. I noticed that where Alex Mighton was playing on the right-hand side for a couple of plays as well. But I think that was just a more attacking sense of, like, they know they have a chance to not just tie it, but come back after and get another goal. So then just try to overload that offense. But then when they saw that the low block was happening by Cincinnati, there was just, okay, let's adjust now again, because this is clearly not getting us anywhere. Let's go ahead and go back to a little bit more traditional, what we know how to do and what we've been planning. Because again, go back to the beginning of the season. Hey, Mikey, how is everybody going to play you? They're going to play the low block. We need to get better at that. Great. So they saw and recognized that low block. So then they say, all right, we know how to deal with this. And they did. That's the thing. They did everything that they should have offensively in this match. And even then, it's not enough, because defensively, they just weren't there in that moment. And, you'll hear Mikey and just kind of his thought process throughout, but ultimately it just kind of goes back to just finishing a game. Just finish the damn game.
And yeah, I feel like we should probably just go to Mikey right now because what I also noticed, it felt like everything was moving more down the middle between Pellegrino, Dreyer, and Invartson, and I Bombino and I think Vasquez were more like up on the wings, and it looked a little different. And it does we I think people are keep asking about tactics. Is this just like a little bit of an adjustment, for the team that just needed to, score a couple goals? That it felt like everything, the movement was happening like in the middle, and I think they could have caught a few breaks there. Yeah.
What do you, well, I mean, that is a question. That is a question to hear
Mhm.
from the big boss. Let's go ahead and transition in toward that as we bring you on every Chromaniacs post-match show. Thanks to SanDiego.Futbol, we've got post-match sound that nobody else has. That really no one else tried. I don't think Mark Ziegler records the sound. I think he just puts notes in a notebook. So here it is, exclusively to you. Let's hear from head coach Mikey Varas.
Thank you for your time, Mikey. In this game, could you just take me through the successes in the first half where it seemed like offensively you were having success between the defensive and midfield line? And then what happened towards in the second half where Cincinnati seemed to bunker down? And your take on the last instance of this match as well.
Yeah, I think overall we made a lot of really good plays in the game, and we played more or less a game that you would feel pretty good about winning. But unfortunately, we just didn't make enough plays, from defensive, considering how many shots they had and how many times they actually got hold of the ball to concede 3 goals. Like, we can't be okay with that. And then when we score 3 goals at home, it's got to be 3 points. Ultimately, proud of the group because they turned the result around and kind of against the run of play where they got ahead of us 2 different times. And then it's last play of the game, and ultimately, we got to close the game better. We got to make that play. That's a play that has to be made. We kind of we drop lower than we've ever dropped on a defending corner or a defending kickoff, and then we have to take a duel. We lose the duel. They score the goal, and that's the gut wrencher right there.
And so with that, what is the message to the group after the match in those moments in order to make sure that they are also built up to move forward in the teaching moment, but what's also the learning experience for the group as well?
Yeah, that's the focus, is that we have to learn from these moments. As much as they suck and everybody's going to be pissed off about it, we have to learn from it, and we have to mature as a group from it, because we experience a lot of things for the first time together, these kind of situations, right? And ultimately, we need individual guys also to mature so that they are more ready to make plays. Because I think the way the run of the game goes, this should be a comfortable win, and it ultimately ends up being a tie. So the challenge is to say we got to close games better, because it's now too many games where we left points on the table. We have to be upset about that. And we have to make sure that we mature from it. Ultimately, what I also told them was that, at least the neutral news is that we continue to accumulate points where we were in a rough patch where we weren't getting points. And now we are accumulating points, and where we are compared to the playoff line is very tight now, which is important, because I think the way results were going for a little bit, we were at a little bit of risk of creating a gap between us and where that line is, and now the line is very tight. So it's about taking these learning lessons very quickly and being ready for a game against probably the best team in the league right now, who came here and knocked us out of playoffs last year, and making sure that we're coming here ready to take 3 points.
And then could you take me again through the tactical differences between the first half and second half where you were able to go ahead and attack differently and get into those spaces where Cincinnati didn't close in?
First half, I think they tried to set a little bit of a higher line against us, and I think they had some trouble defending us in that way. And then in the second half, especially when they get the goal, they go back a little bit and they make it more of a low block game. But I think the guys overall did a pretty good job creating chances. We created, 1.78 xG against a back five team that came here to defend. I think that's pretty good. The main details from a tactical perspective was we just didn't make enough plays in ball recovery to make sure that we didn't concede.
Scoring 8 goals this week is tremendous for San Diego FC. What an incredible thing. And if any of us had heard a week ago, okay, next week San Diego FC is going to score 8 goals, we would have all said 6 points would be the result of that. So it's truly disappointing given the fact that the team is at home, that Cincinnati is this run and gun, up and down, no defense team. I mean, honestly, I've watched a lot of soccer this year, men's and women's, at Snapdragon Stadium. Cincinnati was about the worst defending team I've seen this year. Like they gave up space. They weren't super physical. There was room for our guys to operate. It was absolutely a game to win. They looked like they were going to screw it up and tie. Then they pull out the dramatic late goal. And then the most ridiculous concession, I guess, in the history of the franchise. I love to say things like that on this show. The biggest or the worst in the history of the franchise, because there's no history to the franchise. I mean, the franchise history, is it 50 games deep now? So that's kind of just a fun thing to say. But yeah, this is and SDFC could have scored 5 goals today. They could have scored 5 goals today. Dwyer misses a sitter, 2 or 3 outstanding saves over the course of the night by the Cincinnati keeper. It was a very quality offensive performance this evening, and just more defensive mistakes, man. What a drag for this team to have Mickey say all that stuff again. Oh, learning lesson, burr. Like, you haven't learned the lesson yet. That's almost 4 games worth of points now that you've allowed to slip off the table late.
And I wonder, like, what's the difference from this year and last year? Because last year they were scoring goals late. They had a different mentality. Galaxy, RSL, like, especially early on, like it was, they didn't lose this way before, and now it seems like they didn't lose today, but they are losing points in this manner very consistently. And I'm just wondering, like, what's happening? What it's basically the same players from last year. So what has changed? In is it a mental breakdown? Is it coaching breakdown? I have a lot of questions, because it's a thing that it's consistent. It just keeps happening.
I think we're in a situation where at work, when the kid we give them a little bit of a snack, and they don't like goldfish. And they're like, I don't like goldfish. The saying is, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Right now, I think you kind of get what you get, and you're not supposed to throw a fit. Yeah, you can 100%. But as we were mentioning, Craig, like, if you had told me in that run of losses and non-wins that you'd start to add these performances, and that's what I'll give the concession to Mikey, as he's saying, like, this is still, on a neutral standpoint, not bad. It's not bad. The every game has its moments. If you want to pick that last moment, yeah, but in order to get there had to have been 2 other goals. How did those 2 other goals happen? Mistakes. Young player mistakes. And this is what's going to come with this team. And until we get those veteran presence in here, And again, you're talking about a Yepes Verskov, where in that game, in that last play where Marcus Invarson is playing on a center mid position, usually you'll have somebody defending it like Yepe. And, there is that, presence of an ease of mind for younger players to have that blanket in there. But ultimately it's just disheartening. And I think, you're not losing games, but you're losing points, and you're losing momentum, and you're losing just the morale in general. That's why, what's that message? Like, that's what my question was. Like, what is the message to those kids and this team that have to now pick everything up and face a very tough team next week against Vancouver?
It's so frustrating for SDFC too, guys. I mean, they can be frustrated if they hear this individual anecdote, but I'm sure they get this way more often, which is I'm on the trolley and, this late concession happens, right? So people are a little bit bitter, and guy's getting off the trolley a stop before me. And as he walks by, you know what he says? We need to get Chucky back.
Like, is that the difference? Is that the difference from this year to last year?
I said, Chucky doesn't play defense, right? I think defense was kind of the problem here. I think giving up the goal with 10 seconds was maybe the problem here, not Chucky. And our dear friend and subterranean producer Puma puts in the chat as well. SDFC has actually outscored the first-year version of themselves by 3 goals now through 14 matches. So, it's not Chucky. It's not actually Chucky. Chucky wasn't going to block that pass. Chucky wasn't going to be back there to add some defensive presence for the club. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything else. But I only bring it up. I don't bring it up just to kick a dead horse. It's kind of that reminder that for SDFC, when you make a gigantic decision like that, even when it has nothing to do with anything, La Gente are willing to blame everything on that decision. And you kind of understand from the casual fan standpoint, Alex, why somebody might say that. We're a little bit closer to it. We think it's ridiculous and laughable, but there were plenty of people on the trolley today going, well, we really do miss Chucky, don't we? And that's just the risk you take as a franchise when you make a move like that.
Oh, man. Hey, Chucky does play defense. Remember that one time where he tracked back against LA Galaxy and, got a big tackle? That's always going to be the thing that gets brought up. But like Puma brought up, they've scored 28 goals. They scored 25 last season. The system is very consistent. It's everything that it's the system that's kind of producing things. It's the coaching style. It's everything, because you see it here, you see it in FC Northland. They always match their expected goals and their expected figures, because it's just all part of a way of thinking and a right to dreaming and all that stuff. So does one player really, is he really going to bring the same amount of, production or more wins? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to see it when I'm seeing this team, and it's like that's not the issue. The issue really is a very inconsistent back line that, for some reason, can't defend set pieces either. That's also, anytime I see a corner kick, I'm like the nerves, the anxiety starts to happen. Like, they're not going to defend this, and sure enough, it doesn't get defended. Like, they always aim for that back post and just knock it in now. So it's like that's another thing. Like, they also have to be a little bit more consistent there. Like, defend the set pieces better. Be a better defensive team. Like, that's what's going to make this. That's what's going to produce more wins. Play better defense.
Let's move on to our next piece of sound. Tony, Pedro Soma, correct? Yes, you're muted, but it's okay. Here we go.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
So it's regular anymore now. First of all, take us through the pass you made, and how gratifying is it to build off of that last game with that moment?
I think the coach gave me a little bit of confidence after the last game to continue building on that performance, and that confidence. It gave me the ability to see that pass and go for it. And at the end, when you go for things and take a little bit of risk, some of the times you get that prize. So very happy that happened. And yeah, just very happy.
And describe or contrast the emotions from Wednesday night to tonight. It wasn't a loss, but it kind of maybe feels like one.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like a loss. Especially before the kickoff, the ref tells us there's 10 seconds left. So, in my opinion, it's something we cannot do. The standards we have at this club, that needs to be a win for us. At the end, we learn and move on. But if we score 3 goals at home, that has to be 3 points for us. So, conceding 3 at home really, really hurts.
Pedro, thank you for your time. What can you go ahead and tell me as far as the difficulties in facing a Cincinnati team that went back onto the low block once they went up 2-1, and how it was to try to break that down and ultimately score 2 after that?
Yeah, especially at halftime, we talked about how we need to be patient, but we need to be eager to go and get that goal. At halftime, it was 1-1, so we really need that goal. But since we conceded very early in the second half as well, it was even more being eager to get that goal, but with the patience we have on the ball. And it took a little bit. It took a lot of building, getting our overloads on each side and finding those balls in behind, but we got it. And then we also got the 3rd goal. But as said before, conceding that goal at this club, we can't do that. And so, yeah, we have one more game, which we're going to treat like a final next week. So we have to get those 3 points.
And what are some of the details that you think that will be needed to be just tightened up in those moments, in those specific moments, to make sure that this team can go through the match entirety?
Yeah, no, I think just the maturity we have. I just think in that exact play, we always, when another team kicks off, we like to step our line. And for some reason in that play, we dropped. And that's why when they have that long ball, the second ball falls to them inside the box instead of having a second ball around half field. So it's something that, just the little tiny details, which we are usually good at. It just happened to coin flip the wrong side today. So just those little details will help us next Saturday.
You know what? I don't want to get too mad at the team about this game. I really don't. Like, I appreciated what the young man said right there. Like, normally we're pretty good at this. We messed something up. We made a mistake. We're supposed to come up. We went down. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, it's inexcusable. If you want to be that parent and, throw the dinner in the fridge instead of giving them a warm meal at the end of the night and, yell at them in a dark car on the way home, you failed and now you're a loser, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I get it. Everyone can fan the way they want. Everyone can parent the way they want. They can be emotional and coach the way they want. But my reaction to a game like this is the team did a lot right tonight, and they made a couple of mistakes that suck. In the end, this game might not mean anything at the end of the year. This might be one that we forget along the way. Or if it winds up being 1 or 2 points difference between a playoff line or not, it'll be a game that we absolutely do remember down the line. But as a club, you can't just focus on the last 15 seconds of the match, or else you're going to get killed by Vancouver next week. And then you're going to drag your ass into the World Cup break not feeling very well about this team. They have points in 4 straight matches now. They've picked up 6 points over the last 4 matches. They've done it all without Jeppe Tverskov, who's a critical player on this team. You've seen step up from Pedro Soma, from David Vasquez last game on Wednesday, today from Anis Saidi. You're seeing these contributions from young players that are doing really, really good things. And Marcus Ingvartsen is playing at an MLS Elite 11 level. He's playing at the level of one of the best players in the entire league. So There's a lot of good things I think that San Diego FC truly can build on from the last 4 games. Obviously, they've dropped way too many points late, and today's the worst example of it. And so we can pillory them. We can light the funeral pyre. We can burn everybody. We can start fighting about Chucky again for F's sake. Like, we can just go ahead and run around. You know, we can argue about Pete Rose now next. Like, what other old argument do we want to bring up? Like, but it's a team that has gone through a whole lot in the first half that's come out the other side and is playing a lot better. And I can't throw all that away because they made a physical error that got taken advantage of in a way that's incredibly improbable and very difficult to let go, right? But sometimes in situations like this, that's the thing you actually just have to let go in order to be able to move on functionally to do better next week.
So really quick, would you have rather in these last couple games, in the last 4 games, gain 6 points the way you did, or gain 6 points by losing 2 games and then getting 2 victories? Like that, the amount of points that you make is still the same. And in a league that's dominated by wherever it is that you land with those pointage on 9th place, again, where you're at, you're in MLS. Like you're not necessarily going to have this juggernaut of a team that's going to just ransack everything. And no, you have a chance. There's playoffs. There's a format for this. But would you guys have rather won twice and lost more, or build with these ties with 1 victory?
Well, which game are we going to lose? Let's dig in here, Tony. Which game are we losing now? Are we losing the LAFC match? Are we losing in Seattle?
Those are 2 losable games. I feel like you look on paper and the situation where San Diego FC was, yepeles. I think those would be the 2 that I'd point of, okay, yeah. And then you win against Cincinnati and, you destroy Austin. So there's that. So morally speaking, what would have made people feel better in a way? So I'm trying to pacify some people here potentially.
I like the way they earn the points right now, instead of, because we would just look at that as like, well, they lost 2 and then they won 2 and it's a wash. And but here it's like, well, they're not losing point, they're not losing, they're still, they're drawing and winning games, and I think that might be better than losing 2 matches.
I agree. I'd rather have played hard and fought hard throughout all 4 of these matches and picked up the results that they did in the way that they did. Today is the one that hurts. Mm-hmm. Today is, that's super painful. I think we'd all be feeling really, really good about where the club is with that late goal from Ingvarsson and a 3-2 win. I think we'd all be saying this could be the stepping stone match for the rest of the year. This could be the match that we remember at the end of the year as being the one that was a trampoline that allowed this club to bounce up the standings and move higher and higher. That it would have been a true confidence builder. And that's why I wanted a little pump us up here as we're getting toward the end of the show instead of a drag us down. Like, you got to play again next week, and then you're going to have to sit on the results for almost 6 weeks before, there will be a Chromaniac pause through the month of June as Tony gallivants through the World Cup with Chiva. You gallivanters, you. So, like, I just don't feel like burning the whole thing to the ground makes sense, and screaming about coaches and screaming about Chucky and even the ref. Like, everyone wanted to murder the ref for what looked like a red card against Cincinnati late. And then you watched the replay when on that long ball to Pellegrino, and Pellegrino absolutely first bodied the guy and then completely dove and tried to sell a red. So, those things happen along the way. I'm not willing to bury the club if this was with 2 matches to play in the season, I think there would be a lot of a different tenor. But to me, SDFC was a team that was in a really, really bad way 3 weeks ago. And now you're starting to see the bones of a team that could be a playoff team again. And we have the summer window yet to go. I think, last thing, I'll toss it back to you here, Tony. Like, the biggest fear we all had was that these games without Yeppe Tverskov would be universally losses, that the team would be 12th, 13th place in the conference. And as Mikey Votto said in his post-match, that the gap to the playoff line would be a really thick 3-4 match gap where you need so many things to go right. And instead, the club has results in 4 straight matches. They're hanging on close to the playoff line. There's a lot that you can build on. They haven't lost the season in this run. They've lost some points, Tony, but they haven't lost the season.
Yeah, and it's the marathon, not the sprint. And for this one right now, we've been hearing that, at this point, you were getting some players back, you're getting health back. The 2.0 version of season 2 for San Diego FC is going to be drastically different on paper because you do have these players that are stepping up. You're still having players. I mean, you don't have a right back, man. Like, you just don't have a right back that can go 90 minutes, and you have to go ahead and just put some duct tape on all of this and say, go. You still have David Vasquez, who didn't necessarily get a chance to get some rhythm because he's been subbed out by so many red cards. So again, you have to look at the context of the season entirely to say, how did San Diego FC end up here? And if you look at the way that it was going, you have to be surprised that, oh, wait, they're not all the way to the basement? No, because they've strung together a couple of good performances and they have something to build on. I think that's the most important thing about all of this. There is a foundation for San Diego FC to start building on, and they need to go ahead and look at the transfer market and see those holes, get some MLS veterans, get some more creativity in that midfield, but also be ready to go ahead and receive players coming back. If you're talking about Andres Reyes and you've been spending so much on him, he better be ready to go on that first game that he can and really show his worth, because for all intents and purposes, that's another money pit that you've just been throwing money into. And so you have these players that are coming back, and San Diego FC's best version is, you haven't seen it this year. You haven't seen the best version of them in year 2. You saw the best version of a inaugural team, period, last year for San Diego FC. It wasn't the best San Diego. No, it's just an inaugural season, period. And they have a platform, and be grateful for that platform. I'm not saying be malcontents about where it's essentially led up to now. No, be grateful, but also be aware that it's actually incredible, the fact that they didn't go so far down the basement in this run. And yeah, they're looking at themselves in the mirror. If this happens, as you're saying, 2 games before decision day, if this is something that doesn't get fixed, if Lewis Morgan gets thrown out there and still doesn't do anything, then that's when we can go ahead and have those conversations of like, well, we saw it all the way. You said you were going to fix it. You didn't fix it. Now it's time to be critical.
And guess what? There's 60 points left out there in the season. There's still plenty of time to get some wins. It might not. And guess what? It might not happen next week. Are we still happy with a draw next week and finish this out?
Of course, absolutely.
What is it? 4 draws and one win in the last 5?
Sure, no problem. Done.
Yeah,
sign me up.
I think
I will sign that contract today.
I think that'd be
regardless
great.
of how it happens, regardless of the 3-1 victory that you seem to have in the last 15 minutes, and then it turns into 3-3. Regardless,
Tony Monkey Paw Sanchez over here. Yes, sign me up, and then slap me around with the cruelty of the monkey paw if you have to. All right. What if San Diego FC is down 3-1 and comes back and finds the draw? It doesn't matter. A draw against a great Vancouver team next week would be amazing. A win would be, of course, outstanding. But you got to evaluate everything in context. And I think it's easy to, scream body language, responsibility, everyone's got to be held accountable, blah, blah, blah. The same stuff happens with the baseball club. The soccer club is doing okay. They're not what they were last year. They went into a horrible slump. They're still not the healthiest version of themselves. I still think losing Yepe is such a gigantic thing for this team in particular. And they've not only overcome that, they've seemed to play better the last 3 games. So maybe you get a rejuvenated Tverskov, on the other end of the World Cup, that is not only back and healthy, but is actually playing at the level that he played last year at that MLS All-Star level instead of kind of middle of the packish, which is pretty much where the numbers have him this year. There's all sorts of things that could go better. One thing that's gone incredibly well is Marcus Ingvartsen has showed everyone in San Diego and everyone in MLS that he is a real deal player in this league. He's our last piece of post-match sound before we wrap this show. Let's hear what Marcus Ingvartsen with the dramatic brace had to say.
Marcus. Could you just take me through the positive aspects of this match on the attacking side as a whole? And can you also take me through those last instances where you get yourself another goal and put your team up, but then on the converse side, you see the concession for the draw?
Yeah, if we start on the positive side, we score 3 goals. I think we play a very good game, most of the games, strong, coming back from behind twice. 3 goals at home should be a win. So that's the positive thing. And then the frustrating thing is that we have to sit here once again saying that we play good football and scoring 3 goals, but we don't get the result. So that's pretty tired of that.
And what's your message as a leader in that locker room, not just as a captain, but just a leader, also being able to score as much as you have been in the last couple of games? But once again, like you said, in this moment of a frustration, what's the message to the group as a whole?
Yeah, we just need to mature up a bit. It's been too many games. We all know that it can happen once or twice during the season, but it's too many times. That's something we need to work on and be more clever, stay to our principles even in the last 5-10 seconds. So we need to find that balance, having our clear principles, stay with them the whole game, and then be better at game management.
And Mikey and Pedro mentioned that in those last 10 seconds, the line dropped a little bit further than they usually do. You found yourself in the center mid position, almost center defensive position. Could you take me through those final 10 seconds for you?
Yeah, I dropped a little bit to be in front of the defensive line, and we end up dropping too much. The distance gets too big. They're ending up in a 2-against-2 situation in the box, and then everything can happen. So that's not something we want to do on a kickoff. We want to get into pressure, push up our line, and then if they put it all the way back there, Duran will be there to take care of it. But yeah, that's a game management that we need to work on.
No S, Sherlock. Yeah, you need to work on that. That's definitely definitely an issue. But again, I feel like I'm kind of echoing some of what you heard from Marcus and even from Soma as well. There's a lot of good things you can pull out of this game. It's really easy to be emotional about it and get upset. And it's right to be upset. I mean, no, I'm not saying anyone is wrong to be upset when they conceded that goal. It's ridiculous. It's BS. Like, you should never concede that goal. It's terrible. But if you want to give up being a fan of the team and pick that goal as the reason to do it, okay. Like, pretty legitimate point of, disembarking from the fan experience. But if you're going to stick with the team, then there's really no reason to bury them for this game. It was a terrible finish to a otherwise, I think, very encouraging game. Overall, it was an incredibly entertaining match that the neutrals absolutely loved, Apple TV loved. And in the end, this club is going to move forward, and so is everybody else. And this one is going to be a little bit further down the memory hole when we get to the end of the year, unless they finish 1 or 2 points off the playoff line.
and just something I put in the Padres Hot Tub Discord, and if anyone wants to join, follow Padres Hot Tub. That I wanted to see if this team could get a late goal, and they did, and I think that happened for the first time ever this season, to try to gain some points, and I still chalk that up as a positive, because if that doesn't happen, maybe this turns into a loss, late in the match. You don't know how this could have ended up, and I think in Barton getting that late goal is a major plus. I still think that everything's going in the right direction, and there's not too much to be down on this club. They have one more match against Vancouver, and then they go to break, and then it's one of those things. Who knows what's going to happen in the second half? But I'm very excited to see and watch. And meanwhile, we get to see Tony out there broadcasting the World Cup and getting some good info.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, you got it.
I think I like scampering through the World Cup, just like. But gallivanting.
When's the last
is
time you
probably
scampered, Tony? I know you've gallivanted, but I don't know the last time you
Monday-
scampered.
The Monday San Diego Sockers won that cup, which, by the way, I saw them here. Is that a replica? Did we find it?
No, Serta had the cup. He had the cup in Mexico. That was the answer.
Oh.
No, but I'm glad you brought that up. Before we leave, two shout outs to SDFC Game Ops today. First off, our beloved terrible SDFC memes not only got the chance to be the keeper of the flow and put the big electrified ball in the socket and set off the pyro and everything, but the team made an awesome hype video for him. Made a really, really cool, like 30, 40-second hype video for Brandon. So super sick. He's been a huge part of this show since its inauguration last year. He remains a huge part of this show. He helps us over at Padres Hot Tub as well. It's so exciting to see a friend get an opportunity like this. And believe me when I say, there was a lot of love coming from the North End for this moment. This was, incredibly, incredibly cool. And second, shout out to SDFC. They were proactive. I know this from the behind the scenes. They reached out to the San Diego Sockers, invited them to the match, invited as many players as could come to the match, gave them an opportunity towards the end of halftime to be down in the corner where they do all the activations with the cup, and showed a nice graphic, had a nice read through on the PA, gave the guys a chance to lift the cup. Get a great ovation from the crowd, big crowd there with the Dryer bobblehead night. So that was super, super cool. And good on SDFC for both of those things, pregame and at halftime, honoring memes and honoring the Sockers. That was some great stuff. I kind of thought, Tony, that, they were pulling a page out of Sockers to get a golden goal win there. At the end, the difference is late in games in the MASL, when you score a goal like that, the game ends. They don't tack on, oh, and now here's another 12 seconds. Let's see what you can do with that shit. Oh, well.
Yeah, no, it's also shout out to Tom Penn, ran into Tom Penn post-match and gave the operation. I'll include everybody here as kudos on what we've been doing and getting out there, and recognition from the CEO in terms of the production that, SanDiego.Futbol, Chromaniacs, two balls have done and post matches. So, this is where you get it straight off the tap. This is where you get it as fresh as it gets. So, kudos for you guys for being with me up until 11. I spent way too much time in the stadium the last 3-4 days.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Alex, any closing thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Man, no, I'm just tired. It's been a long day. And you know what? But shout out to the Padres for putting up a 7 spot against the Mariners, which allowed us to be like, okay, it's 7 runs. I think we can leave early and catch the San Diego FC game. So we left. Yeah, we left in like the 6th or 7th inning. We're like, all right, this is done. So thank you, Padres, for that.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks to all of you great viewers for being here with us late on a Saturday night, late on a Wednesday night, late on a Saturday night. We've seen you guys show up and show out and make this worth our while to do the show. So thanks to everyone for being here. Before you leave, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button on YouTube, please do so. If you happen to be listening to the audio replay of this and you can give us a 5-star rating, that would be super awesome as well. You can follow Tony at SanDiego.Futbol. You can follow Alex at ChromaticFC.com. You can follow me on Instagram at 619 Sports and Life. And with that, we're going to bring a close to this live episode of the Chromaniacs Postmatch Show. 3-3. It's a draw with Cincinnati. It feels like a loss, but it is a point in the bucket, and the team moves on to Vancouver next week. We'll be back with our Thursday regular show. However, Alex will be on vacation, so it'll probably be me and Tony, and we'll see if Abe wants to jump in or Chiva for the third slot on Thursday. But we will be back with a regular show on Thursday. Alex, have a great vacation, my friend. Be safe. Good travels.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you.
Tony, just get back home safe
Yep.
to the Southwesterly podcast location in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. You see us on Monday, break some film, Telestrator. I'm going to go get some In and Out. I think I've earned it.
I think you've earned it too. I think you've earned it as well. All right. That's it for tonight. For Alex Pena, for Tony Sanchez live at Snapdragon Stadium, I'm Craig Elston. Thanks to you for watching. 3-3 is the final. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Vamos, SDFC.